As you guys can see, I'm literally in the same shirt as yesterday because Logic Pro is so enticing to mess with because of the new updates. Let's hop straight into it. Today, I'm going to show you how to do some drums in Logic Pro. So if you're coming from FL Studio like me, Logic Pro has a very different mindset. So this is for you guys. Basically, we're going to right click here in our area, go to software instrument, click over on the inspector tab thingy here, and then go to where it's click the drop down. We're going to switch this to Drum Machine Designer. This is like the FPC in FL Studio. Now we're going to go to the browser icon on the right side. And I recommend clicking this little computer icon and then finding your external hard drive and finding your folder of sounds. Okay, so I have a go-to folder. We're going to drag this kick from in here over to pad 1. So if I play my MIDI controller at C1, it could measure the velocity and how hard I'm hitting the note. And then let's grab a snare, drag it to pad 2. And again, I could trigger that with my MIDI. I'm assuming you guys don't have MIDI, so I'm going to show you guys how to program your drums even without MIDI. And here's the hi-hat. So you could just keep it that simple, go back, hit record, and just play a pattern. You could do it that way. But the way I'm going to show you guys is more of an FL Studio workflow, which makes me like Logic Pro way more because I did not know a lot of this stuff. So if you click this pencil tool, it will open up this window here for the piano roll. Let's switch this to the step sequencer. I'm going to turn my cam off just so you guys can see some of the settings here. So bear with me. And let's switch this to 32 steps in the right side here. Okay, so basically what we can do now is this is basically the same thing as FL Studio's channel rack at this point. Okay, so what we're going to do is draw in a pattern. So I'm going to draw in the kick as I would, on FL Studio. The only thing I wish is that they had opposite color alternative things, but maybe that's because people use polyrhythms or something, so that would be confusing. My brain is hard to wrap around just everything being the same color, but that's just from the FL Studio point of view. So I'm going to add the snares in here, and we're going to go to 140 BPM. So we're going to put the snare on the 3 and the 7 count. So turn the metronome on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So over time, we'll get used to like where to place the drum. Now, if you're like me, I was trying to do my hi-hats one time and I messed the whole grid up. So let me show you guys how to fix it. So what I did one time is like I hit Control Alt and I left clicked and I made the long notes. And I was like, I didn't know what I did to cause it. Okay, so you can hit Command and Option if you're on a Mac, definitely. Okay, so Command and Option will elongate the notes or make it shorter. So I can make a super long hi-hat note or just a very short hi-hat note. So let's say you want to do like the fill each 2 steps like we do in FL. You just hit Command Alt to make the hi-hat the length you want. And then you hit Command R to repeat it. So that's the shortcut I know. And now you got your hi-hats going. So the fact that we can make drums in Logic Pro a little bit easier gives me a little more confidence to actually hop into this DAW, because that was my #1 kind of sticking point. So another thing you guys could do is click these drop downs and swap out different values, or you can go to this little area here where it says velocity value. You can click here to see the velocity value per note, or you can switch this to different stuff. We rarely are going to use this other stuff for different notes. Okay, but for hip hop, at least, you might want to change the velocity of a snare or the velocity of a hi-hat. And you could do it just through here, or you guys can go to the drop down and then go to the velocity per each note and just edit it if you want. You could also do rolls in here, like note repeats. So right here, I want a note repeat. Let's go to the note repeat. This is what I thought was super innovative, even back when I first started on the first Logic Pro X update. We're going to left click and just change this to 4. And now you have a hi-hat roll just like that. And you can create really customized hi-hat rolls. They don't have to be in increments of 4. Another thing I love about Logic Pro's workflow is you can switch these values. This little drop down thing, just click on it. And let's switch this to offset. So this is basically the time in which the note plays. So I'm going to click this up arrow. I'm going to basically delay the hi-hat. And now we got that groove going. And let's say I want the hi-hat to just smack a little bit harder. We can up the velocity. Just hitting this up arrow for all the notes. We can do the same thing for the kick. It's a quick way to just turn up the channel volume without going into the actual drum designer. And then we can go back to the inspector button and let's add a compressor for that final knock. Let's add a compressor and let's put this on. Let's turn the threshold off and turn this to a soft clip mode. And then basically your input gain will just make the drums hit way harder. So this is like their fruity soft clipper in a sense. So who said you can't do FL drums in Logic? I think the workflow just was hard to understand at first. Once you get a hang of this workflow, it's like legitly better than FL. Let's click here. Let's go to offset because you could do so many micro things that you cannot do in FL. So I just offset the kick. Let's play something alongside. Okay, so let's say you want to arrange this. So this is the difference in FL versus Logic Pro. Maybe there is a shortcut to do it this way, but basically the way I understand is we just hit Command R. Now, I think if we make a change on this sequence, it does not affect the other sequence. So see how I made a change here and it doesn't affect the first sequence, whereas in FL Studio, it will affect the first sequence or pattern. So I'm not sure if you can link these in any type of way to make that similar to FL Studio. But just keep that in mind when you guys go to do like Command R, which is the equivalent of Command B or Control B in FL Studio. If you make any change from one of those patterns, it won't affect the other stuff, which could be a good or bad thing. Again, I'm not sure if there's a way to turn that on or off. So that's the only thing I don't know yet. Let's hit Command R. So let's create some music behind this just to show you guys how fast you guys can do drums. So let's see how fast we can come up with a beat. All right, so everything's super straightforward. Let's create like a top line. Forgot how to duplicate. Okay, here it is. Command D is duplicate, by the way. Let's find a different sound here. Let's add this in. So we already got a banging beat. Super fire. We're barely even like producing. We're really far in the production process with barely any work. So let's change up the drums here. Let's take out maybe like a snare. Let's just make something different about each thing. maybe do like a little hi-hat roll somewhere else or take out the hi-hat roll entirely. To reset stuff, just hit Option and left click. Man, I'm loving Logic, y'all. Y'all might see me making beats in Logic from now on. It's just so straightforward, but it still feels creative. That's what I love about it. See what else we could add in here. Let's add this in. So we're just playing 2 notes here, nothing crazy. Let's record that in. Bang. 1, 2. All right, let's add some reverb. So we already made a beat. I didn't expect to make this video this long, but this is how inspired you guys will get when you're on Logic. It's just so much more inspiration on here than any other DAW that I've used. All right, let's add some more knock on the drum. My bad, y'all. I went to hit save because it's fire. This beat is so fire already, and I barely did anything. Let's add a little chorus to the bass. Maybe I will widen it. Beats just come out way better on Logic. Like you guys heard for yourself, I barely even put effort into this beat and it already sounds way better than anything I could do in FL Studio by default. Guys, if you're not looking at Logic, you need to look at Logic, because Logic, now that we understand how to do drums, the only quest I have to figure out is how to sample easier in Logic. Once I figure that out, oh, we're going to be doing Logic for a while. All right, y'all. Subscribe if you're new. It's GameFromBusyWorksBeats.com. Peace out, guys.